All right, so once we have this open in Fusion, what we're going to go ahead and do is we want to go into the 135 folder. And we're actually going to create a new folder, and we're just going to save it as our last name. And inside that is where we're going to save this. So make sure it says IED 135 Goggler, or your last name, I should say. Click on Save. And now we're going to create our new title block. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, and we're going to start a new drawing template. We want to go from scratch. We want to make sure it says ASME. We're going to do it in inches, and we are using a B size sheet. And we click on OK. All right, this now pops up with a new piece of drawing paper. We're going to hit Cancel here, and we want to click once to select it, and then do a right mouse click, and we're actually going to create a new title block. And we want to click on the middle button. We want to start it from scratch, and we want to name. And we can say IED 2020 size B. And click on OK. Now, this is going to be one of the most frustrating drawing experiences because you can't specify distances. Everything runs off the grid. So some of you might be happy because you've been using the grid forever. Me, I'd rather type in the distances, and this will kind of frustrate you a little bit. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw lines on here to space out where all our stuff goes, like our names, a sheet number, a scale, stuff like that. That's how we're going to go about this, and we're going to use the line tool. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use our grid. So I'm going to come up 8 little squares or 2 big squares, and that's going to be 2 inches tall. And we're going to go all the way to the end, and it's going to be a little less than 15, or a little less than 16, I should say, and click on OK. And what I want to do is I want to change that line weight to 0.25. All our lines should be at 0.25. And we're going to go ahead and continue drawing lines. Now this next one's going to be at 2 inches. And the way I found is easiest is if we draw basically a construction line, a line that we're going to wind up deleting later. And you can see it all depends on what kind of pressure you're putting on the mouse. So if you get it close enough is good enough, just so you can see where on the grid, and I zoomed in now, I need to draw my next line. So I'm going to draw, I want to make sure my line says 0.25 for weight, and I'm going to go from this intersection right here, line, that intersection straight down. All right, my next line is going to be at 4.5 inches. So I'm going to stretch this out until it says 4.25. I'm going to draw another vertical line then. Pan over a little bit. Same thing, 4.25 again. I hit the escape key to end it, by the way. And I'm going to go straight down again. Next one's going to be at 3.5 inches. And straight down. All right, so now we got to put our horizontal lines in. The first one's going to be midway, so I got 4 squares, 4 squares, 4 bigger squares. You can see it breaks down to smaller squares even. And that's going to be first 2, and then we're going to do every other one. So we're going to draw every 2 squares. This one here we're going to come back and delete in a second. So we wind up with 4 spaces here. So let's click on that line and get rid of it. The next one, we're going to have 2 squares off the bottom, which is going to be about 1/2 inch of room. And the next one, we're going to wind up putting line the same height and another line with the same height on it. And we're going to delete that line, and we're going to delete that line. All right, so now all that's left is to fill in the actual words of what goes where. First thing we're going to wind up doing is actually inserting an image over here. And you can download the image off of the Canvas page, and it is the school's logo. So insert from your computer once you have it downloaded. find it. Once I find it, here it is. And you're going to place it in the lower left. Now, it is too big, so what we're going to do is we're going to change its scale to 0.5. And I must have clicked off of it. So let's try that again. Insert, find that logo. We're going to change our scale to 0.5 before we place it. There we go. Try to center it up as best possible. Boom, logo. And click on OK. All right, yes, can we make that bigger? You can make that a little bit bigger, but try to center it up, try to make it nice. Now we're going to have to wind up putting text boxes in, and that is up here underneath text. We have two things, attributes and text. We're going to use the text box as our title areas, and the attributes will actually bring it in from the drawing. So for instance, this one we're going to type in project, and all we got to do is click off of it, and you're going to want to kind of drag it out and away from the lines. And then we're going to attach an attribute, and we're going to do that underneath it. And over in the attributes, we can pull down and find the project name. All right. We also can make this one bigger, so we're going to make this 0.25 inches. And again, we can space that out a little bit, something like that. All right, and that's going to bring up whatever project you're in, so that's actually going to say ID odd on it for each one of your drawings that you use this title block for. All right, the next text box we're going to do is going to say approved. And that's for whenever your drawing is approved. If I need to approve it for your kind of final projects, stuff like that, that's where that would go. And there are going to be attributes, but we need to do what's called a custom attribute. All right, and this one I'm actually going to start away from it, and I'm going to put it right smack dab in the middle. And we're going to go to custom, and then we're going to type in approve. And click on close. And when we get there in your drawings, we'll actually talk about how that's going to happen and where you're going to put these. But for now, this can be just like that. Keep going with your text boxes. The next one that we're going to put in here is check. So some of your future drawings, you're going to have to get checked with a peer, and then you would place their name in that box. And again, we're going to go ahead and put an attribute in here. I'm going to get it away from there, put it dead center, and once again, we're going to make a custom, and we're going to type in check, and click on close. Scrolling on over, we got the really big box here. That is going to be our title. So all we need to do is type in title here. And again, spaced away from the lines a little bit. And then we're going to put our attribute right underneath it. And it's going to be our drawing name. Project name, it's called. All right, and we're going to make this pretty big because we got a big old box. So we're going to say 0.375. And that's going to cause us to move this around a little bit. There we go. There's our project name. And drawn by is going to be our next text box. And put an attribute in here. And that is going to be drawn by. Scroll it on over. Next text box is going to be drawn date. Put your attribute in here. Add the next text box, and that is going to be check date. And since we don't have that here, we have to do a custom. As check date. See if I can get that any closer by zooming in a little bit. See if that helps me out with my grid. Nope, doesn't want to go there. All right, and my next one is going to be sheet size. And this does have an attribute already set up for it. So we'll go in here and find paper size. And the last one for this row, or column I should say, is going to be sheet number. Now if you get a double row like this, you can just come up here to the little ruler and make it as big as you need it. So I'll always try to space it out, but it doesn't want to work with me. And we're going to click on attribute. And sheet number. And the last two are going to be revision. And I don't know if there's an attribute for this one or not. I'm going to put it dead center here. And no revision, so we'll have to go custom, go revision. And we'll make that one a little bit bigger. We'll say 0.25. Center that up. And then the last one is going to be scale. And put an attribute in here. Again, I try to center it up in my box. And that should be drawing scale. 0.25. Recenter that. You can actually do justification too, so that way it stays in the center. If we put it in the center, it's going to center it all over time. So I'm probably going to do that for revision 2, edit that, make sure that is on center, and reposition it. All right, everything else I want to come from the left, so those are all good. That is good, and those are all good. So here is our custom paper size and our custom drawing block in the bottom here, or a title block, I should say. Click on Finish Title Block, and before you do anything else, let us remember to save this drawing. All right, so I'm going to click on Save. Make sure you save it underneath that folder you created, and we're going to do IED 2020 size B, and click on Save. Now we can close out of that, and we can now place this drawing onto that drawing template. So we go from design, we're going to go from, instead of from scratch, we're going to choose IED 2020 size B, click on OK. And we're going to change our scale as well. And as you can see, it has edited all that stuff it has that can pull from our original drawing. We have our project title. We have our, I must have selected the wrong one there. We're going to have to go back and edit that. I got my name, I got my date, I got the drawing size, I got the sheet number, and I got the scale number. Now, if you don't like some of the stuff exactly where it is, feel free to go back and change the size of the text or the location of the text or anything like that. But you should have the more or less layout I have here. Go ahead and tweak it a little bit. Like if you want this more down, that's 100% on you. Go for it. Let's see what you can bring in. And that is how you make your own custom drawing title block.